Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this public hearing to order. The date is August 18th, 2025, and the time is 4 p.m. Thank you all for joining us. The purpose of today's hearing is to consider the appeal of Chris and Melissa LeBlanc regarding the denial of their application for permit to use the town highway right-of-way for Cottage Street to install a private sewer force main line to access the public sewer to serve their property at 265 Cottage Street. The Select Board is here to listen to all sides and gather information before making any decision. So the procedure that we'll follow: number one, we'll get a statement and a presentation from the applicant. Number two, we'll get a presentation by town staff on the permit decision. We'll get comments from abutters or the public. Then there'll be a chance for the board to ask questions. We'll get rebuttal testimony from the applicant and town staff and closing statements. At that point, we'll have a possible deliberative session. That's number 6. Number 7, we will possibly return to open session for additional questions from the board, from us. Number 8, we'll have a possible second deliberative session and possible action. And number 9, we'll have closing remarks. So before we proceed, I'd like to ask Select Board members if any one of us has conflicts of interest, ex parte communication, or needs to recuse themselves from this hearing. George?
I'm sorry, no.
No. Richard, no. And the chair is no. Thank you. So I'm going to ask those of you in the room, will those who expect to provide testimony this evening or this afternoon, please rise. I'm going to ask you to state your names for the record, and Judy's going to write down the names. Go ahead.
Melissa LeBlanc. Yeah.
Bryce Simon, counsel for Chris and Melissa LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Chris LeBlanc. Brent Raymond.
Yeah.
Jordan St. Hodge.
So if you could each please raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
They all agreed. Thank you. I said LeBlanc a few times. LeBlanc. I'll try and be careful with that. Before moving into testimony regarding the permit appeal, I want to remind all participants in the hearing to be respectful, to avoid interrupting or talking over each other, and to allow others an opportunity to speak. Please know that everyone will get a chance to speak if desired, so we ask that everyone be respectful of those providing testimony. With that, any comments from the board yet? Okay. Okay, so next I'll invite the applicant or their representative to present testimony and evidence in support of the position in this appeal. So I'll pass it over to you folks. There is a microphone. I do ask you to please speak into the microphone, and that's because this session's being recorded. Are you okay, Melissa?
Yeah. This has been just a long process.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's here. It'll catch you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I made that difficult. Yeah, so if you could just please speak into the microphone, that would be great, because it's all being recorded. Thank you. And that'll be true. We'll pass the microphone over to the town as well. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I do want Chris and Melissa to speak on the factual sort of predicates before I get into a lot of legal discussion. But just to frame the issues, the LeBlancs applied to utilize the village or the town right-of-way to access the village wastewater system it's our view that they're required to connect to the village wastewater system in order to develop their lot on Cottage Street. They were denied because apparently largely because of the length of the connection, or the length of the infrastructure that would be in the town right away, as well as the nature of the infrastructure. And we have reasons that we think neither of those issues really are very good grounds for denial. But also, one of the things that's been said is that the village would essentially exempt them from connecting. And so we want to talk a little today both about why that's not appropriate to be exempted. They've never applied to be exempted. There's been no formal exemption, so it's our view that they're still required to connect to the village system. And so then that just leaves a question of whether or not they can connect through some means of utilizing the town's right-of-way to access the village system. And it's our position that the reasons given are not sufficiently related to any legitimate state interest to be legitimate reasons for denial, that they ultimately end up being arbitrary and capricious reasons for denial, and that given the other similar connections that have been allowed through the town right-of-way, denying the LeBlancs is violating their constitutional rights under the Common Benefits Clause of the Vermont Constitution, in that other people in similarly situated have been granted the very thing that they're asking for. There's also a bit of a slippery slope here, in that denying the LeBlancs for the reasons stated in our view would really create a situation where there'd be no basis to allow future connections over, or similar connections over municipal land. And that's just clearly not the intent of the village ordinance. It's not the intent of the voters in creating a septic system that people are required to attach to. And it's really not the intent of I think it's 19 VSA 1111, or even the village, or even the town policy related to that. And so our position is that, and then stepping aside from all that, it's really the best thing for the village and for the citizens of the village and for the town and the people, the citizens of the town, to allow this connection, because the alternative to the connection is an in-ground system. And the whole reason for having a septic system for people to connect to is to not have this kind of proliferation of in-ground systems where the ground is being saturated with septic effluent. And so just from a purely, self-serving perspective, it's in the interest of the neighbors, it's in the interest of the town, it's certainly in the interest of the village to connect to the village system. The whole reason to have a system like this is for exactly connections of this type. And so, if this is disallowed, the precedent would arguably be that it would seriously hamper and interfere with the whole purpose of having a septic system for people to connect to at all. The main reason, it seems to me, that the main reason for purported concern here is that you'd have a long length of pressurized water pipe, basically. And it's not a water supply pipe, it's an effluent pipe. And Mr. LeBlanc can testify more on the factual aspects of this, but my understanding is that what they're proposing is really much less of a risk than a pressurized water service line, because it's a much lesser PSI. And so there's really not, to the extent that the comparison has been made to water service lines, it's not a valid comparison, and to the extent there is any comparison to be made, this is a much less dangerous type of connection. Just in general, from an engineering standpoint, it doesn't, they have an engineer, Tyler Mumley, everyone's familiar with him. He'd be designing this. He's the one that provided the site plan. There's really no good reason to think that this is in any way not a sufficiently engineered infrastructure. So it's going to be well engineered, it's going to be well constructed. So, you know, the idea here is that the town, to the extent it has discretion to deny a request, has to exercise that discretion for good reasons. It can't be arbitrary and capricious. And our position here is that given the other connections that have been granted, given the necessity of the connection for the village, from the village ordinance requires them to connect, given the lack of any good reason to have a waiver of that, and given the sort of, I guess, engineering soundness of their proposal, there's really no legal basis to deny them. In other words, a denial would be arbitrary or capricious. And so it's our position that really they're entitled to connect to the system, and that the denial of their request is not lawful. So that's sort of a legalistic position but I'd like you to hear from the LeBlancs, because I think they have a bit more of a story to tell, and they have their own perspective. I'm giving a kind of very 5,000-foot view of our legal position, and I'll come back to that towards the end, but I'd like them to be able to talk to the specifics of their application and what the genesis was for it, and how they view the specific facts on the ground.
I'm glad I didn't have to go first. I collected myself. Just a little bit about how we got here. We lived in Morrisville for 15 years. We raised our kids here. I was elected. We would live on Ward Pond Road. It's a dead-end street off of Cottage Street. And our son is in his 3rd year of college, and our daughter is a senior in high school. And they are flying the nest, and we have more house than we need, but enough land. So I said to my husband that dreaded sentence every husband absolutely hates to hear. So I have an idea. I think we should subdivide the land, sell our house, and build a smaller house. For some reason, he agreed with me, and we decided to take on this project. We first talked to our neighbors, because we liked them very much, and asked what their thoughts were on it. And luckily, we've been really good neighbors, and they agreed. We spoke with our engineer to get some plans in place. Excuse me. We held a special HOA meeting because we needed permission from our HOA to subdivide. We had our engineer speak with Morristown Water and Light to make sure that there was sewer allocation. We got a driveway access permit from the highway department, which was actually a really simple and easy process, and we really did appreciate that. We spoke with the town to confirm that what we wanted to build was within the zoning regulations. It was before Tyler was here, so we spoke with the consultant to confirm we could build a single-family dwelling and 2 accessory dwelling units. That would be small cottages for either to use as a rental or for our kids to come back when they're, if they hopefully want to come back and visit, that we have some space. We started designing the house, and in a conversation between our engineer and the highway department, Jordan, it was stated that the town does not wish to permit private interests in the right-of-way, and that was a quote, with no further explanation. As you can imagine, we were surprised. We actually have preliminary approval for a wastewater or a stormwater system from the state as well, and everything had been going along really well. The most surprising part was that the Morrisville Water and Light Ordinance mandates a connection. We're within 500 feet of a connection point, which is a manhole cover. It's on the corner property at the end of Jersey Way where it connects to Cottage Street. We measured it out for, I think, just a little under 340 feet away. So based on the ordinance mandating us to connect, there's a fair assumption that we could do that. Normally, when I'm in this room, I'm on that side of the table on the PRB. and we interpret things just like this. To me, this seems very black and white, which so many times things are not black and white. And we have to use our best judgment to be reasonable and help things work out in everybody's best interest. The town, and people that oppose it, and people that are for it. So our town plan supports and encourages continued development of new single-family housing on smaller lots in the village, which is where we are. The town supports the subdivision and confirmed that we can build the units we proposed. The village ordinance, which is a law, mandates we connect to the municipal sewer system. The state fully supports the subdivision. The town has a right-of-way policy with guidance as to what is required for the legal use of the right-of-way. What we're desperately trying to figure out is, where's the disconnect? It seems like everything's crystal clear, and now we're in a town that we love with a lawyer to try to build a new house so we can stay here. Sorry. It's the end of my speech. I'll pass you on to Chris.
Thank you, Melissa.
Okay, just gonna read from my spiel here. So good afternoon, members of the select board. Thank you for hearing us. I don't know what information you've been provided with in regards to this denial. If it's just what was attached to the meeting notice today, then that's just the most recent denial. I'd like to take a moment to review the timeline of events for your clarity and understanding of how this went. The original proposal, and some of this will reiterate what Bryce also said a little bit. The original proposal from our engineer was for a 1.5 inch low pressure force main buried roughly 325 feet down the ditch of Cottage Street, and making a single road crossing to the manhole, manhole number 9 is called, between Jersey Way and Cottage Street, just off the edge of Cottage Street. This portion of Cottage Street is dirt, and there are no other buried utilities in this section of road. This is a common sewer connection that would be designed by Mullen Engineering in accordance with the requirements set forth in the Department of Environmental Conservation's indirect discharge rules and any other applicable requirements. As this is a standard connection type defined by the DEC, of course main, they are regularly approved by the DEC. Vermont is hilly, and while gravity connections can work for most connections, sometimes it needs to be pumped uphill, and that's the case we have. This is not a large hill, we're talking approximately 10 feet of elevation gain. So on March 26th, Kevin Newton stated that this connection would be acceptable to Morrisville Water and Light. On April 22nd, this proposal was sent to Jordan St. Ange to get his opinion. And on April 23rd, this proposal was denied in an email with the explanation, the town does not wish to prevent private interest in the right of way. That's a quote. And literally every home and business that connects to the public utilities in the right of way has private interest in the right of way. So this didn't quite make sense to us. On May 9th, we submitted a formal right of way application and fee, noting that there was no language in the current right of way policy that prohibits this type of connection, that the Morrisville Water and Light civil ordinance requires us to connect, and that Morrisville Water and Light has accepted this proposal, and that as the property owner, we bear liability for the connection per the same Morrisville Water and Light ordinance, not the town. On May 29th, Brent responded and stated that he supported the denial and cited concerns of safety, liability, maintenance, and encroachment creep, another quote. But no policy section or specifics were cited for this. June 5th, we offered directional boring as an alternative to trenching. This method has no surface disruption, no impact to the road, traffic, or public. On June 17th.
I'm sorry, was that June 5th you just said?
Correct, June 5th.
Thank you.
On June 17th, we were again denied, this time citing a need to meet public good and necessity requirements under 19 VSA 1111. This is the first time that this was mentioned. On June 19th, we responded and explained how our connection does provide public good and has necessity. And the public good, as we see it, is that the town plan defines a sewer as a common good benefiting the whole community, not just direct users. It states that essential parts of our community, such as Cobley Hospital, or grocery stores, and even downtown Morrisville, could not exist without municipal sewer service. Our connection supports these goals by contributing to the cost of plant maintenance, upgrades, and maintenance, and enables compact village-scale development and reduces the reliance of individual septic systems in the village. Our connection would provide a $6,811 connection fee and roughly $900 a year in sewer fees in perpetuity. It is necessary because our lot lies within the town's sewer service area, the village sewer service area, and is within 500 feet of a connection point. And as I mentioned, because of these facts, the Morrisville Water and Light Civil Ordinance legally requires our connection. On July 11th, we received their final denial. Jordan stated that the clear public good benefits that we outlined were not enough. He now tried to imply that our connection presents a risk because of lack of leak monitoring, which no residential connection has per Kevin Newton and Morrisville Water and Light. He suggested that our 1.5-inch line would cause right-of-way clutter despite no other utilities in this section of Cottage Street. As you can clearly see, the goalpost has been continually moved for us. Yet we have responded to each request in a timely manner with legitimate answers corroborated by actual examples, factual data, and supporting policy and ordinance references. There's a serious matter of fairness and precedent. Similar right-of-way connections were approved on Cottage Street in recent years. 429 Cottage Street has an approximately 240-foot gravity sewer connection to the same manhole that we would like to connect to. 254 Cottage Street has a roughly 250-foot water connection heading in the opposite direction, which required a pavement cut. And per Kevin Newton at Morrisville Water and Light, there are at least 5 other private force main connections in Morrisville. There's no evidence that these applicants were held to a public good test, despite 19 VSA 1111 having been applicable since the 1950s. And there is no significant policy change that would deny those right-of-way permits today. Denying us while approving others is inconsistent, unfair, and unnecessary. In conclusion, their denial keeps shifting, with new requirements added each time. They responded in good faith, provide technical and legal justification at every step. Our request is consistent with policy, ordinance, and past state approvals. And we respectfully ask that the select board approve our right-of-way permit so we can move forward with our project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
If I could just add, now that they've had a chance to speak a little bit, just in regards to the specific denial that we're talking about here, there's a couple things I'd just like to point out to the board regarding that denial. One is, the basis for the denial is purportedly the failure to meet the public good and necessity requirements, and the town's regulations regarding occupying the right-of-way. On the public good aspect, it seems that it was interpreted, the application was interpreted to only be a public good to the extent that it would ratably add to the financial health of the village system. And we would just submit that that's not the only public good being met here. There's also a public good in having properties connected to the sewer system to avoid putting effluent into the ground. There's also a public good relative to giving fair and equitable access to the village system. That's a public good that's being denied to the LeBlancs, and if the LeBlancs are denied, arguably anyone else who has a 300 or 400 foot run that they need to do on a pressurized system should also be denied. And so it's in our view it would be a precedent that would actually harm the public good. And also it's not just ratably contributing to the financial health of the system, it is complying with the village's requirement that they connect to the system. So I think that the village has already determined that it is a public good to connect properties within 500 feet to the system. Really, the onus should be on the town to say what outweighs that established public good. Here, one of the things that's been said is that safety is an issue. But I would just point out that all the discussion in the town's denial regarding safety, all the discussion regarding metering or cluttering of the so-called cluttering of the right-of-way, and what's discussed in regards to the public good in the letter of denial, much of that is extremely speculative. There's really no indication that there was ever any actual facts established by anyone who's qualified to say it, that there's any safety issue here, or that there's any cluttering issue here, or that there's any reason to be concerned about leaks, or all these issues that are given as justifications for the denial are essentially presented as concerns. It's even, the word is used in the letter, that there's concern about these things. But there's no basis for that concern that's ever shared, and there's certainly no objective grounds for that concern relied upon in the denial. So in our view, in order to deny a request like this on the basis of safety concerns or other concerns related to the use of the right-of-way, those would have to be objectively reasonable concerns, not just concerns that someone had because they had a feeling about it, which is really what's in the letter, which is just sort of like one person's opinion that there's a reason for concern does not make a legitimate objective concern. So our concern is that denial is largely based on speculation and concerns that are just not legitimate concerns. They're completely arbitrary ideas that have no real logical connection to the actual project.
One second. Okay, thank you. Is that it for the three of you at this point?
I heard that you give us a chance to have some
Absolutely.
rebuttal time, so I always like hearing that I'm gonna be able to talk again.
You will certainly get that opportunity. Okay, thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Melissa. So I'd like to invite Jordan St. Ange, Highway Superintendent, and Brent Raymond, Town Manager, to provide a summary of the permit application and the reasons for the initial denial of the right-of-way permit application.
So Judy is handing 2 packets to you now. The first one is what I'll be speaking off of, and the second one is just some of the different legal sources that I'll be citing. So the process when we received these applications for use of the right-of-way, is the Town of Morristown Highway Right-of-Way Access Policy, which was approved by the Select Board on April 7th, 2025. The applicant fills out the application form, the town manager designee reviews it, and I was appointed as road commissioner designee by Brent Raymond, the town manager. On these complex or higher risk applications, we work together to assess them. The basis of our review is 19 VSA 303 and 1111. After our review is complete, if it's something that we don't see poses a risk to the community, we issue a permission to proceed. In this, basic working and right-of-way permits like replacing a driveway culvert, construction is done and inspection is completed, and then I record with the highway department as a zoning commissioner record the application process. With different ones like access permits for a new driveway, when this is complete, after the permit's been, or the construction and inspection's been done, then zoning records the access permit. And on wastewater permits, they are approved and issued by the state and recorded by zoning. All the state requires is a letter from Morrisville Water and Light showing capacity, and a letter from the engineer or contractor stating that the system has been completed and designed and pressure tested. We searched through several permit histories, and historically in Morristown, there's been no regard for the right-of-way when issuing wastewater permits. And service line locations are not reported by Morrisville Water and Light or the town. Brent Raymond and I believe it's imperative for Morristown to conduct thorough assessments of right-of-way requests, especially private wastewater, and that any infrastructure and right-of-ways be mapped as accurately as possible. So as we're reviewing these, the main thing that we look at is the application of 1111 regarding public good and necessity. It's a standard that the town applies when evaluating right-of-way encroachment for private benefit, and the application may vary based on the specifics of each project and the extent of the proposed encroachment. The recently signed Morristown Highway Right-of-Way Policy further clarifies the town's commitment to careful management of its town right-of-ways. We also consider the Vermont Agency of Transportation Policy and receive input from other communities. So in the two packets that you have, the second packet has 19 VSA 1111, which is titled Protection of Highways. 1111 states use by private sewer or water lines. The agency, which in this case is the designee or the select board, may issue permits allowing the use of highway right-of-way for private sewer or water lines, and following notice and hearing, the board certifies to the agency that the requested use will serve the needs of the public. You also see in your packet the Vermont Agency of Transportation Location and Design Standards Utility Accommodation Plan. In this you'll see highlighted in yellow, it says permits for the placement of longitudinal, and this is a very important distinction that we'll get into shortly. The placement of longitudinal and other utility facilities within the highway right-of-way may be issued with appropriate conditions by the agency, provided the facilities are owned, controlled, or managed by a utility company. That's another important distinction that we'll touch on. This one is for a privately owned utility. Permits for placement of cooperatively owned longitudinal facilities within the right-of-way may be issued with appropriate conditions by the agency if it is demonstrated by charter or other covenant that the facilities will serve all abutting property owners on an equitable basis. This line is only to serve the applicant. Permits for placement of longitudinal facilities within the right-of-way may be issued to owners of private lines following notice and hearing if the Transportation Board certifies to the agency that the installation will be supportive of the public good. And again, this line is for one property. So we talked a little bit there about longitudinal, so we'll talk about a standard connection to the wastewater system. And a standard connection is a short length and it's a perpendicular connection. Generally, when you're connecting, you have a sewer main going in front of your house, you're leaving your property and going directly to it. That's going from a house to the main in front of the house, which is generally, the right-of-way is a maximum width of 50 feet, so you're talking a pretty short connection. It's along the frontage of the property and it's gravity flow. The proposed connection here is their property kind of falls in a dead zone where Morrisville Water and Light doesn't have an actual main on the street. So the proposed connection is a 325-foot length longitudinal connection. It leaves the applicant's frontage and crosses 2 other property frontages. It's also a forced main, which is a pressurized line. It will consume 325 feet of the right-of-way with a 10-foot setback for water from sewer. We'll get into some of the reasons for the denial of the right-of-way. That's private sewer lines are generally perpendicular connection from a property to the sewer main along the frontage of the property. This force main is longitudinal and runs the right-of-way for approximately 325 feet. Sewer lines are inherently risky due to the potential for leaks, and this sewer line is a pressurized line, which increases those risks.
Jordan, I'm sorry, where are you in your packet?
Reasons for denial, page 3 of the first packet.
Thank you. You good? Yep.
Sewer lines are not metered by nature, and a leak could go undetected for an extended period of time. There's no form of record keeping done by Morrisville Water and Light or the town of Morristown for private sewer service lines. Water and Light relies on institutional knowledge and case-by-case locating when they go to the service. Cluttering the right-of-way with long private sewer lines crossing multiple frontages is an impediment to future development and road construction. This is a quote from Stowe Public Works. Right-of-ways only have so much width. Adding anything takes up space in the right-of-way, particularly given that sewer requires 10-foot separation from water. Another important thing to note is dig safe. When an excavator calls dig safe, all utility companies in the area are notified and the respective underground utilities are marked. Dig safe does not notify private parties, and privately owned underground facilities go unmarked. Serviceability, if a leak were to develop or a failure occurred, there's a potential for 325 feet of Cog Street needing to be excavated to make a repair. The owner of the lines is responsible for the repair, and if not willing or able to make the repair, the town would have to make the repair and then bill the owner. Private ownership versus utilities, we touched on that a little bit earlier. Utility companies are easy to hold accountable, and they're set up for immediate repairs. Utility company ownership allows for possible future connections, serving all abutting property owners on an equitable basis, which is the basis for providing public good. There is a requirement to connect for these residents based on the sewer service area, but Morrisville Water and Light has waived that requirement for the applicant to connect to the sewer system, or is willing to waive it, but hasn't been officially waived. Scott Johnstone with Morrisville Water and Light, who spoke to the applicant as well as Brent and explained why, if he was the town, he would not approve this use of the right of way either. Scott was the former Burlington, Vermont Public Works Director. The use of the right of way must show public good and necessity. This privately owned pressurized line will only serve one property. There's been no necessity shown. We have an email from Reese Brannon of Mumley Engineering on March 24th, 2025, stating we can likely have water supply and wastewater be on-site soil-based, but municipal is preferred. So talking about the denial letter that we sent to the LeBlancs, this is a quote from it on 7/11/25. The permit for occupying the public right-of-way requires a specific demonstration of public good, directly attributed to the proposed right-of-way encroachment, notwithstanding references in narrative town plan sections to the contrary. Your proposed connection serves only your private property. While a single connection contributes ratably to the public benefit by adding to the overall financial stability of the sewer system, this indirect contribution is insufficient when the system is viewed as a whole to satisfy the public good requirement for occupying such a significant portion of the Cog Street right-of-way with a pressurized sewer line. The intent of 1111D is to ensure that private use of public space is justified by a direct and tangible benefit to the broader community, which the town concludes is not met here. Also from that letter, this is another quote. We acknowledge that Morrisville Water and Light sewer ordinance requires connection given your proximity to the main. However, Morrisville Water and Light has expressed their support of this denial and is waiving the requirement for you to connect. While the directional boring you propose minimizes service disturbances, the fundamental question remains whether occupying the public right-of-way with a pressurized private line of this length is indeed necessary when alternative solutions might exist outside of the public right-of-way, even if more costly to the property owner. The cost of septic design and installation, while greater, represents a practical alternative without encumbering or creating a threat to the integrity and stability of the public right-of-way. This is a little bit from the Village Morrisville wastewater ordinance for the sewer service area. Article 6 states any expansion of the wastewater collection or treatment system which will be located within a public right-of-way or on public property shall be owned and maintained by the village. There's a couple definitions here. Most important will be building sewer and private sewer. Building sewer shall mean the extension from the building drain to the public sewer or other place of disposal, including any portion thereof within public right-of-ways or easements. Meaning in general, the sewer line from the building to a collector trunk or sewer main. The building sewer is owned and maintained by the property owner. Private sewage system is defined as private sewage system or facilities shall mean all facilities for collecting, pumping, treating, and disposing of sewage that are not owned or operated by the village. By these definitions, this proposed connection is a private sewage system or building sewer service. If the proposed connection was built to Morrisville Water and Light requirements, Morrisville Water and Light assumed ownership after construction, and it was available for the public to connect to, it would be considered public sewer and it would be permissible in the right-of-way. This is a viable option for the applicant and the process used by Stowe Public Works. It's important to note that the town of Morristown, as a separate municipal entity, is not bound by any ordinance adopted by the village unless expressly authorized by statute or by agreement between the municipalities. So when we make these decisions on difficult topics like this, we seek counsel, and that is no different in this instance. Morrisville Water and Light have voiced their support for this decision, and there's a letter in here from Kevin Newton that I'll take a moment to read. This is in your packet as well. Kevin Newton, the operations superintendent, sent this email to me after I denied the application. This is reading the letter verbatim. Hi Jordan, I just wanted to say, for what it's worth, I fully support your decision not to allow private utilities in the town and village road right-of-ways to the extent you are being asked to. We've been bitten plenty of times by the fallout from past practices in private water and sewer installations. Things that seemed fine at the time, but ended up creating major headaches down the road. You're absolutely right to think ahead so folks aren't cursing your name 20 years from now. The examples being pointed to now are perfect illustrations of what shouldn't have been allowed to happen. It's not always easy to say no, but it's the right move to avoid a mess later. When we were making this decision, we also sought counsel with Rob Ojensky, the municipal consultant, and he has voiced his support for this decision. Stowe Public Works is another one that we speak with. And this, in red here in your packet, is direct quotes from Stowe Public Works. Stowe stated, privately owned longitudinal sewer is not permitted for new connections, neither in state nor town highway right-of-ways. While the state may grant a permit for such a pipe, we would not allow it from the utility side. I also asked Stowe about the risks of longitudinal, privately owned force mains, and they said, quote, right-of-ways only have so much width. Adding anything takes up space in the right-of-way, particularly given that sewer requires 10-foot separation from water. The right-of-way is for the public good, and a private individual taking a good chunk of that for only themselves does not seem right. A force main impedes town highway maintenance, i.e. culvert replacement. Even if a property owner is willing to pay for what is needed to accommodate, that is time that will have been spent in the future dealing with that. If there is a problem, i.e. the force main breaks and causes sewer to surface, damaging the road, the private owner may not have the same level of urgency in fixing the problem that the town does. Even though our highway, water, and sewer are all different funding sources because we control all of them, if one of them is causing a problem for another, it will get dealt with under the same urgency as a problem just within that fund. And the end quote there. The town and Morrisville Water and Light share a similar relationship. We prioritize serving each other. This is back to being a quote from Stowe. If the highway department needs to do something to fix a problem caused by a private individual, it's going to be very hard to get them to pay us back. We have several fire districts with similar water systems that use the right-of-way in a couple of locations in town. These are not members of DigSafe, and some we don't really have any good contact information for. It can be hard to get them to mark out where their infrastructure is, and they have varying levels of knowledge of where that stuff is. Some don't have a clue where their pipes are, or think they're on one side of the road and the pipe is found on the other side. Not that we have perfect records of our infrastructure, but there are only a few places where we have questions. Rarely are record drawings made for private connections, and information often gets lost when property transfers occur. Not an issue that affected a right-of-way, but one of the properties that we have connected via private force main in the roadway called us up because their pump station had failed, and having bought the property a few years prior, had no idea that they had a sewer pump station. So I also asked Stowe, if a resident wants to connect to public sewer with a lengthy run, what are some of the requirements Stowe imposes? This is another direct quote from Stowe. We would require this to become town-owned infrastructure and be constructed to accommodate all potential customers in the service area that it would serve. We do this through a public works development agreement, which includes numerous requirements. This denial is consistent with the Town of Morristown Highway Right-of-Way Access Policy, 19 VSA 1111, the Vermont Agency of Transportation Utility Accommodation Plan, and it shares Stowe's process. There are other options for the applicant here. On-site soil-based system noted as likely by the engineer. Email from Reese Brandon at Mumley, Kevin Newton on March 24th stating, we can likely have water supply and wastewater be on-site soil-based, but municipal is preferred. This is a practical alternative without encumbering or creating a threat to the integrity and stability of the public road right-of-way. The applicant could also extend the sewer main and then turn over ownership to Morrisville Water and Light. That's a process that is used by Stowe, and Morrisville Water and Light is open to having that conversation. The applicant could also request easements from neighboring property owners to keep the pressurized private sewer line out of the right-of-way to where a typical short perpendicular connection can be made that will only occupy a small portion of the right-of-way. This was also brought up during the initial request, which we can look at now. That's if you flip through here, you have the water and light, then Stowe, which I already read, and then the initial request. If you go to the end of the initial request.
Hold on one sec there, Jordan. Okay, what page are you going
So
to?
if you go to the end of the initial request, it is gonna be on the back side of the drawing,
Page 5?
page 10,
Okay,
just prior to the letter of denial.
okay. Yep, yeah, I see it now.
This is where Reese Brandon said we can likely have a water supply and wastewater be on site, soil-based is preferred. Be on-site soil-based, but municipal is preferred. So if you flip through this conversation some more, past the two pictures, you'll see where Kevin Newton is explaining the options to Reese Brandon. He states, as for the sewer,
Okay, hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah, are you going backwards or forwards?
backwards to
Okay.
page 7.
Okay,
Is there a
thank
copy
you.
of that that we can look at?
Give me 1 second, Bryce. No, I'm going to take my lighter in my book. Give me 1 second.
What page are you on?
So we're on page 7, but it's a second set of page 7s.
The picture, there's
I
a
would say it's
picture.
about 2/3 of the way through. There's a picture, Bryce? It's right after this.
So as,
So go ahead, Jordan. Could you reiterate that for us, please?
what's that?
Just reiterate about page 7?
Yeah, so page 7, this is just a continuation of the conversation of the options between Reese and Kevin. And Kevin Newton with Water and Light said, as for the sewer, easements and pumping may get you there, which is still one of the viable options. They can get easements from the neighboring landowners and keep this line out of the right of way until it makes a standard perpendicular connection. If we continue flipping back to page 5. This is just their conversation between Kevin and Tyler. And this is about adding a meter. The homeowner would need to have a water meter installed on their incoming water line from the well to measure the sewage usage. And this is again just showing that sewer lines are not metered. They're not required to be, it's just by nature, they're not metered, which is another reason why a leak could go undetected for quite some time. As this conversation continued between Kevin and Reese and Tyler, Kevin Newton very astutely asked the question, is the town okay with this forced main in the right of way? And that is where I was brought into the conversation.
Where are you with that question? Is that in our packet too?
Yeah, sorry, page 3, if you continue looking towards the front.
Okay.
Just because the emails go
Yeah, that's okay.
newest to oldest.
Just want to follow you. So you want to just say that again?
Yeah, so this is again, the conversation between Kevin Newton and Reese Brand. And Kevin Newton brought up the question, is the town okay with a forced main in the right of way? And then if you continue looking back to the front, to the initial request, I asked that question as well. It's actually on the prior page. So thank you, Reese. Hi, Reese, thank you for reaching out. I need to do a site visit and confer with the town manager on this one. Would you be looking to request an easement from the neighboring landowners where you're intending to place the line as well? And she responded and said, hi, Jordan, we are hoping to avoid easements from the neighbors on this project. So in that, right there's a couple of other options. And those are really the 3: on-site, extend the sewer main as Stowe would force them to do, extend the sewer main and then turn over more water, ownership to Morrisville Water and Light. At that point, it becomes a public utility that can be hooked onto by abutting property owners or anybody else who wants to. And if there's ever an issue with it, then there's something like Morrisville Water and Light that we have a good reputation with in order to effect repairs.
So did you say, I thought you said there's 3 options, on-site, public ownership, what was the third?
The 3 options would be on-site soil-based system, septic system.
Yep.
The applicant could extend the sewer main.
Yep.
And then turn over ownership to Morrisville Water and Light.
Yep.
And that's the process that Stowe uses.
Yep.
And then you could potentially, applicant could request easements from neighboring property owners to keep the pressurized private sewer line out of the right of way to where a typical short perpendicular connection can be made that will only occupy a small portion of the right of way.
Yeah, Jordan, I'm going through a lot of pages here. So where are those 3 options again? I was going to ask the same thing. Is that page 7?
Page 7.
Okay, I just found it.
Of the initial
Thank you, Bryce.
presentation.
Okay. Is that it from the town?
If I just may add, I'm not sure if this is the last name, but Attorney Bryce.
Bryce Simon?
He mentioned that it would be a bad precedent to establish if we denied these longitudinal right-of-ways because it wouldn't allow other private landowners to develop. I would argue that it would be a bad decision to allow it when you consider that each sewer
Excuse me, folks.
each sewer requires 10 feet of separation from water. So if we have 1, 2, 3, I mean, who knows how many people could request these sort of sewer lines. And Morrisville Water and Light eventually does want to develop out their utilities, including fresh drinking water. There has to be now movement of what's already there for private sewer lines, or they have to place the water lines 10 feet away from all, any and all private sewer lines. So my argument is that this would be a bad decision, a bad precedent for the town. Secondly, if you want to move forward with this, I would ask that you put additional money in the budget so that we have a system, and maybe we could work with Morrisville Water and Light to track these sorts of things, because we already have them in a few places, and unless Morrisville Water and Light begins to expand out their utilities, the town really has no system to accurately track potential infrastructure, whether it be sewer, water, et cetera. And we've seen the problems that occur when we don't have good recording, whether it be driveways that are installed improperly. We're dealing with that on a practically daily basis in our infrastructure upkeep. And sewer poses even more risks.
I'll be right with you, folks. Okay, is that it for the town's presentation? Okay, thank you. Public comment. At this point, I'll open the hearing to comments from abutters or members of the public. If you wish to speak, please state your name and address for the record. Limit your remarks to 2 minutes, and please focus your comments on the matter at hand. Also, if you are not here at the start of the meeting, start of the hearing, and want to provide testimony, I will need to swear you in. Please let the board know before you start testifying if you have taken the oath. Is there anybody who would like to speak representing the public or abutters? Is there anybody online? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to the board. No, I'm not. Actually, I am, and then I'll come back to the, I guess, cross-examination. part of
Rebuttal,
this.
I think you call it.
Rebuttal, thank you. Richard?
Just a couple of questions. What's the depth of the proposed line? How deep would that go in the right of way?
It can be, that can be stipulated by the highway department or the Morristown Water and Light. It's gonna be directionally bored, so they can set it.
The entire way or just the
The
road
entire
crossing? The entire way will be directionally bored, or is it
Yes.
just, okay?
The whole thing from the edge of our property line to the manhole.
And then, so how is, I'm not familiar with sewer.
Sure.
How is it pressurized? How would that be?
There would be a collection tank on our property.
Okay.
A septic tank.
So you would have your own septic, that was another question. You have your own septic tank on your property.
Yep.
And your effluent, just like a standard leach
Correct.
field, would go out
Yes.
via the inch and a half pipe. Okay,
Never continuously, just as needed, as it reached.
right.
you know,
Yeah, I guess,
so
yeah.
it's not continuously pressurized.
Okay.
Just on the depth issue, I think the way the engineering drawing makes it look is that it would be at whatever depth was appropriate to hit.
For grade,
Well, no, to hit, it looks like it's meant to be a relatively, I don't know if it's a significant run, but it obviously should hit the sewer manhole
at the appropriate height, right,
Right.
right.
Come up.
So it'd be whatever depth is appropriate to go from where it's going from
Right.
to there at a reasonable run.
Kind of. I've dealt with a few directional drawing lines, and they can guide this thing digitally with a sensor, and so they can bring this thing down and up.
Okay.
So when it's going under the road, it can be set at depth, whatever.
So potentially where it goes under the road, it could be 10 feet.
Just-
And then where it goes into the ditch or the right of way, it could be 4, 5, 6.
Right.
Okay.
It does need to come.
That's just for my,
Yeah.
Presumably, we would, if, for example, the idea was it should be at least a certain depth while it's under the roadway,
absolutely.
that
Right.
obviously the condition would be acceptable, right?
If you look on the last page of that packet that we just talked through, the very last page has a drawing, as part of the application that was submitted. That'll be kind of visualized. It shows the house site, proposed 1,000-gallon tank, the pump station, and then the red line is the proposed sewer line.
Right, and that's what I was looking at also, I was thinking.
This map here?
Nope, block it like very, very last page.
Very last page.
I'm sorry, there's a lot of information.
Keep going down.
There we go. And that line is the longitudinal, and it's going downhill, I assume?
It's going uphill, that's why it needs to be pumped.
It's going uphill to Jersey Way. Oh, I see. I did do a drive-through today, and I was wondering how this was all
So if
gonna
you
work.
drive it, you come down Jersey Way, and then you hit Cottage Street, there's a house on your left. Just on the downhill side of that house is where the sewer manhole location is. Then if you continue down, you can see where the driveway's been started, right at the edge of the tree line there.
Makes more sense now.
It's a little disorienting because you see, this property looks like it's uphill from the road. It's just the sewer main is more uphill than the property.
Yeah, it goes down.
George?
Yeah, thank you. You're right, it is very disorienting, because I went and drove Saturday around, and I went down Ward Pond Road, I got it? But it felt like, is your house like on a little driveway to the right, and there's like two? See, I didn't go up there, because I figured this is a little encroachment of kind of running around.
The white one, the red barn.
Okay, I didn't get up there.
Yeah.
So I went back to Cottage Street, and you cite 245, 254 as an applicant? One of those two. So that I could see, because that was right on Cottage Street. That's a heck of a hill up. So just as Bryce says, it's disorienting, you're saying a 10-foot lift, if I understood you right, Chris.
Just based on GPS, pneumatics.
So coming out of your house, but this,
Yeah, if you were to stand on where the lawn would be looking out
Yeah.
at Jersey Way.
Yeah.
It's an uphill run.
so are you, and I'm not questioning you, I'm questioning my own understanding. So when I look at this map, when I look at where the connection would start, the red line would start,
Yeah.
are you saying to me that that red line lifts 10 feet?
Correct.
Wow,
Yeah,
it sure as heck feels like it's not lifting 10 feet.
Yeah.
it feels like.
Feels like a lot more, right?
Oh, yeah, it feels like a ton
That's an
more.
estimate based on,
The GPS height
Yes.
at there and at the catch basin 9.
correct,
Where is that height estimated from?
just the house lot and the sewer manhole cover.
But your house lot is quite a bit up above grade from where your access is on the road.
Yes.
And is that access on the road where this line would enter the right of way?
No. It would enter the right of way.
So at the bottom of your driveway,
Yeah.
that's where the line is gonna come into the road.
Correct.
So the elevation lift from the bottom of the proposed driveway
I'm saying
to
from
the
the
manhole.
pump to the manhole.
So the pump is gonna come down your driveway
It's
though,
gonna go
right?
down and then up.
And then it's gonna go up, so that's why you're.
Oh, okay, that's why, so that helps you, I'm thinking.
Yes.
There's a dip in your driveway, so to speak, which,
Yeah,
and then,
that's correct.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, you
So
keep
it's,
it as a dead straight.
in theory, it's gravity fed for a little ways, not really, but it's going downhill,
Correct.
let's call it that way.
Yeah.
And then makes the 90-degree, and now the pump has to lift it.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just to be clear, the infrastructure would access the town right of way at the boundary line between their property and their neighbor's property, based on that drawing.
Okay, all right. So Chris, what's the drop, so to speak, from your house down? What's the lowest point on this entire roller coaster of
I
septic?
haven't measured that, I would estimate maybe, for surface levels, not
Yep.
depth of height, but maybe 12 feet, maybe.
So there's not really that much downhill on your
Yeah.
some.
Poop only flows downhill, so it just needs a little push to get back up.
Yeah.
That's it. That
Yeah,
expression came from exactly this scenario.
I know what you're saying, I'm just trying to get my head around the geography more than anything else, not the rightness or wrongness of positions.
It's hard too, because when you're standing there, there's hills going this way, and hills going this way, and hill going this way.
Absolutely.
So to get your bearings is a little tough.
Yeah, absolutely, okay.
Well, if you look at the gradient on their engineering drawings.
Yep,
If you look at the elevation gradients, you can see that
680.
670 to 675 is
You're right,
See what I'm saying there?
680, yep, I do see it, I do see it, Bryce.
So from 675,
Yeah.
the elevation gradient
That's,
back where the infrastructure would be is more like in the 690s.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So it's about 15 feet.
it just doesn't feel like that when you drive that road. I'm not questioning your GPS presentation, or now this map, it just doesn't feel like it when you drive the road.
Well, because when you go up to them, you're going up a fairly steep grade, whereas Cottage Street itself is, in that section, is fairly gradual. So you just.
But still, be a good sledding hill.
I lived at the end of Cottage Street.
Yep.
And when my son was little, I pulled him on one of those bike things.
Yep,
I don't know if you remember Claude Marcoux,
sure.
lived right there.
Yeah.
And we would fly past his house, and he came out and told me I was going too fast.
Okay, that was one question. So now let's go back to Richard's questions a little bit about the actual function of the pump and whatnot. So there's a backflow preventer or something? Because you're gonna have a septic tank
There'd have to be a backflow.
that's gonna fill at some point, it's gonna trigger the pump, and the pump's gonna push everything, the poop, the effluent, whatever the appropriate term is for it.
Well, no, the solids would be in the tank, so it's not.
It's true, yeah, true,
The water.
okay, all right. And then obviously the pump's gonna shut off when the level in the tank gets down, and now you've got X amount of feet of, that's gonna have to be back checked. That's not gonna come back to your tank, because that seems like a never ending back and forth. Okay, all right. That's two of them, I'm not sure that's all of them. I got one, Brent or Jordan, I've got Title 19, Section 111, sub B. I printed all of that. What's Section 303, which you cite once? I don't believe Bryce cites it at all, or the Leclerc, the LeBlanc cited it at all.
That's a simple, it's a really short section, but it's basically town highway control is based by the town and the select board. Town highway control.
I think it's just meant to say the decision's yours, not the state transportation
Okay.
board's.
Is that a fair?
That's fair.
Okay, all right. That's it for me right now, Don. There may be more later, but right now that at least starts me in the right direction. Thank you all.
Laura?
I just want to, full disclosure, I served on the DRB with Melissa. I don't feel like it's a conflict of interest.
We disagreed plenty on the DRB.
Plenty. I will say that, she is incredibly well-versed, and was a huge asset to the DRB, for technical reasons. That being said, and having served on the DRB, this has been an ongoing argument with the DRB, with the town and Morrisville Power and Light, is if you have a village and you have a sewer, it needs to be accessible to the entire village. To have sewer that is random makes no sense at all. And this has been an ongoing battle, is to, if you have sewer, it needs to be accessible to all of town. This is a perfect case of, you have people who've lived here, who've been taxpayers, who now want to access the sewer and can't because we have inadequate sewer lines. So I have a real issue. I think the public good is that you have somebody who wants to build a house, who wants to, first of all, frickin' stay in this state, stay in this town, and spend the incredible tax dollars. And I think we need to bend over backwards to keep them here, and to get more house people to move here. I'm next door to a house that will not sell because the property taxes are so high. We are about to hit a very, very bad time. We need to make this town accessible, and it needs to be open to work with people, and not this no, 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 which is what we are right now. And I'm adamant against that. That being said, what is, Stowe says they extend the sewer line. What would that cost? And because I'll go back to, it seems like the village should extend the sewer line so that it's done, so that we don't have to do this jimmy rigging maneuvering. So my question, I guess, to everybody is to, is that a viable option? What are the costs involved? What's the hesitation of,
It was never put, it was never put to us as an option, but two, just to be clear, we're subdividing off an acre and a half out of a 3.5 acre parcel. We could subdivide that 6 ways based on zoning. Is the expectation that we would have 6 septic systems and leach fields on 10,000 square foot lots? Like, that's not even, like,
and that's what I'm saying, is we've got to start looking forward. And with the state and with everybody pushing for development, if we're now saying, okay, you can't move to the village and you can't, so now everybody's got to put in septic systems. How are we encouraging development?
Well, can you say though, in regards to what you just said
Yeah, so-
about you had asked a question specifically about extending the line, and tonight was the first time I heard any talk of, well, if the village could own it, it would be a different analysis. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't see why it couldn't be a village-owned line, built up to village standards. I can't imagine that would be, to me, that means it's just a larger pipe, right? So I don't know that that's an issue. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that we ought to extend municipal service, septic service all up and down that section of Cottage Street, or the Whites would want to pay for that. That's a different kind of expansion, but just the pure question of, could you just convert this to a larger line that the village could then take over, just like you build a road to town highway specs and then the town takes over the road? I don't see why that couldn't happen. Obviously, the advantage to that would be that the neighbors could then also connect to, because they have a neighbor up between them and the manhole is this large parcel that, theoretically, if they wanted to connect in the future, this would then give them the ability to do that. So I think that, if the board were to say, we're gonna grant you your request, but we're gonna condition it on you building the line so that it's up to whatever the standards are for the village to take it over, and then we want the village to take it over once it's built. Obviously, I have to defer to Tyler Mumley, I have to defer to these
Right.
guys.
but that might cost $100,000.
Well, right, exactly, that's what I'm saying, is
That's-
if it's absurd, then it's absurd. But if it's simply a larger pipe, that doesn't sound
Well, I guess
problematic.
that's my thought, is that seems like a good solution, but not that the homeowner should take on the cost.
What
It's,
I hear you saying though is like, they want development in town, right?
Yeah.
And we have the potential to divide that lot into 6 lots.
that's what I'm saying,
And
yeah.
so the town, and we're not gonna do it, but someone might buy our lot and then divide it.
Yeah.
5 more ways, and every house on that road has the same option based on the density that we're in. So the potential for, and I mean, everybody's so broke right now, so subdividing off a chunk of land to build a cute little house right in the village
Yeah.
and pop on town sewer is kind of a neat option. If they ran a line, look at all the customers they would have.
What I'm not sure about is, to go more to the spirit of your question, I'm not sure what the process would be. Say that you said, all right, well, why doesn't that whole subdivision get served by municipal sewer? Like, that'd be the ultimate solution, because then you can build it out, max it out. I don't know what the process is off the top of my head.
Yeah.
For how would we engage the village to provide the infrastructure necessary for everyone to join. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for, let's build forward instead of, let's anticipate that.
Yeah.
And if, again, good public service, if we now have the potential down the road that there's other lots that they can join on to, there's more revenue for Morrisville Power and Light. So I think, I don't think you can put the onus on the homeowner or Morrisville Power and Light we need to come up with some kind of, understanding, because there's other areas that this needs to happen. Again, if we're gonna have a village that's served by septic, then if you live in the village, it's a reasonable expectation that you should be able to hook up to the sewer
Especially
system.
when it's
Right.
mandated.
It's mandated, so we need to figure out a solution constructively, that's feasible and affordable, I think.
I think that solution, we need to include Morrisville Water and Light in that
Exactly.
conversation. And in order for it to be a public good, it would have to be okayed by Morrisville Water and Light. If it's owned by Morrisville Water and Light, and if it's available to the public,
Right,
then that's how you address the problem that you're
Yeah,
speaking of.
yeah.
But if we have that problem of there's no sewer line to serve these lots,
Yeah.
then the answer becomes a multitude of unmapped, undocumented
Yeah.
service lines, then we're just fixing one problem by creating another problem.
yeah, I hear you, and I'm just saying, again, you know, I have solar, and we're the only, one of the few counties, or in all of the state that has to have 2 meters, and we still have a guy driving around in a truck, you know.
So just
we-
going back
We
to-
gotta move ahead,
Yeah,
is what
going
I'm
back to-
saying. So I think I would like to see us, initial working. So that would be mine, is that I wanna figure this out and make this work. I don't like blank nose. I don't think that's acceptable. So a taxpayer that's been here.
And I think Laura, we would all agree with that last statement. And your question kind of tied in with my question, and it had to do with the options. We've talked quite a bit about the second option. The first option, how practical or unpractical is it to have on-site septic? I know it's more expensive, but
I mean, we're talking about 5-bedroom septic system. The estimates that I've gotten are in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. And I honestly don't know that it would get permitted. The lot is, and you can see it in the topographical, the lot is tall and it's a spine. And on both sides of the lot are waterways or seasonal waterways.
Well, there's also a well on site.
It is a very small lot. It's a village lot.
So
haven't
have
we
you-
heard already, though, that it is permitted for on-site
It's
septic?
not permitted. It's
It might be
It
an
might
option.
be an option.
Might be an
is
option.
what was said, I believe.
Okay.
But what's the current effluent treatment
For what?
for the house that's there now?
Our house?
Yeah,
Our house is, gravity line to a pump station to a force main out to Cottage Street.
right, but to this,
So you're running on the same,
Yeah.
the same,
We're looking at the
System.
same thing we're doing right now.
so you haven't looked at,
There's on Ward Pond, at the end of Ward Pond, this is from Kevin Newton in Morrisville Water and Light. There are 4 or 5 homes at the end of Ward Pond that share a common pump station and then discharge via force main to Cottage Street.
okay,
So there's a communal
right, okay.
public good,
Belongs to
It's
me.
not-
serves multiple houses.
It's not the public, it's 5 people. When you say public good, I think of more town-wide.
but they can't access that system
Okay.
with an additional.
So you haven't looked at a conventional septic system?
No, we have not,
Um,
because this connection is required. So
Right.
that's why we-
And ideal.
Right,
It's required, but you also, I believe, it was Bryce who said that the village would exempt you from that requirement, correct?
No, they said that, I said that's been said, I said there's no formal exemption that's been requested or obtained. And I think there's a certain cart before the horse idea, typically it'd be the homeowner that would ask for a variance, not the town asking for it on the homeowner's behalf.
So regarding option number 3, has there been any conversation about, and if I understand option number 3, there would be a longitudinal pipe across private property
It would be
and then there would be a
outside the right-
perpendicular at the top?
Where it comes in the right of way, it's perpendicular and it's,
So there'd be a longitudinal going uphill, going up Cottage Street, and then a perpendicular to the beginning of Jersey Way?
yeah.
Okay. Is that
Would that require
at all
easements?
a possibility?
And our neighbor.
Right, I understand that.
Not amenable.
Not amenable.
And nobody wants to buy a house with easements, let me tell you. You know, I would buy a house that I can hook up to a sewer in a village, but I don't wanna buy a house that has a bunch of easements and,
Another
you know.
So I said that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry, another thing too is, if at some point the village did decide to expand the sewer system and run a sewer line up Cottage Street, there is typically verbiage, and there may be in our ordinance, that you're mandated to connect when a sewer line runs past your house, in which case
Yeah.
we could abandon our line and connect to the new sewer line, so there wouldn't be any clutter, I believe is the word. So our line would not be cluttered if the sewer line ran through. And if they run one sewer line and one water line on opposite sides of the road at different depths, you can connect to water and everybody can connect to sewer and just go down a perpendicular connection. So our line wouldn't interfere with anything should the village decide to expand the system, which I think is inevitable with the growth, the hope for growth.
So at this point, I just want to state the obvious that we have another meeting starting in 10 minutes. However, and we've received an awful lot of information here, an awful lot of evidence. I can tell you right now, it's, I think, a very safe bet that we are not going to get through this whole agenda as I described in the beginning in the next 10 minutes. What would the board?
I have a couple of things I'd like to say before we run.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, how would we like to proceed? I guess, how important is it that we start the regular select board meeting as warned? It is very important. So we have 6 or 7 minutes here to make, I don't think we're gonna make a decision. I think what we can do is, I'm not gonna use the right term, but
Continue the hearing as well.
I was gonna use the right word.
I
Yeah.
think
You
we're
want to check with your legal counsel.
So David, is that David there? As I think you've heard me say, we've only got 5 or 6 minutes left. We're not going to finish this hearing tonight. We can continue this to another date and time.
Yes, you can. You can continue it to a date or time certain with, you can consult with the applicants in the town to see what works for them. Another option, it sounds like we don't even have enough time for rebuttal testimony.
Right.
That was quick enough, and if there wasn't a lot, you could take it and then continue it, or then close the public portion of the hearing and we can deliberate. That would avoid everybody having to come back if we think we can be done in 6 or 7 minutes. Otherwise, we can talk availability for a continued hearing in the next week or two, depending on the board's.
Do we have to decide, David, do we have to decide that date and time right now, or does that have to be, we have to decide that right now?
Do we,
I think
Otherwise,
it's
we need
better if
rewarning.
we could do it now but this isn't a zoning proceeding where there needs to be 15 days advanced warning and all that sort of thing. So the best practice would be to try and, nail down a date here if we can in the next 7 or 8 minutes. Otherwise, we don't necessarily have to, but I think we should try if we can.
So my suggestion would be to continue this to another date and time, and I would like to take the time right now to look at our calendars and decide on a date and time, because we are going to run into another deadline right away.
I'd ask for clarification though for one.
Yeah, go
From
ahead,
the chair
George.
or from whomever. What was warned today was the appeal of Chris and Melissa LeBlanc, a denial of application for permit for private use of town right of way, sewer line, public treatment, 265 Cottage Street. The conversation has been broader than that. There's been some discussion of this, but now we've got another possible
Options.
easement for whatever value it is. There's something else out on the table.
Other options.
Other options. Are we recessing to go back to strictly this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think we can either deny this, well, we can either accept the denial or deny the denial. That's what
Okay, that's a task.
That's
Okay.
our task, nothing
Okay.
else. We're
Fine.
not,
And just to be
we
clear-
haven't warned anything else, so that's all.
That's where we're going. Okay, thank you.
And just to be clear, you can also condition
that's what,
a
yeah.
reversal, you can have conditions. So I think we're open to the idea of discussing at the next meeting what other conditions might be appropriate
Yeah.
to warrant approval.
So this week, there's a Conservation Commission meeting in this room on Thursday night. So that's not gonna work. I could do, is tomorrow night
Well,
ridiculous?
What's your next select board meeting? Because I'd like to try to,
Our next select board meeting is September 2nd, and that's a pretty full meeting. We have a
It's a
public hearing
Tuesday.
that night as well.
right, no, understood. How about September the 1st? Oh, that's a little bit, never mind.
That's
David, are we under any, can we continue, how soon must we reconvene?
There's no requirements as to when. So you could You could do it September 16th or the 15th, or you could do it tomorrow. There's no timing requirements.
Did you say Thursday of time?
Thursday this week?
Commissions.
Thursday this week, we cannot. There's a Conservation Commission
Oh, sorry.
meeting in here.
Okay.
But tomorrow,
Is next week at all possible for the board?
Any day's fine with me. Do we need to talk to Morrisville Power and Light before we have our meeting? Or is there information we need from them before we can continue on?
I don't think so. They're not here tonight. They're not represented tonight, so I don't think we need to.
But if we go into a conditional,
Well, the
Well,
only issue is,
that
we
would be-
need to find out from them, what would their requirements be relative to having a line that they can own? I think that's the question we have to ask them. They may be able to answer that question in 5 minutes.
I think it'd be good to have a representative from Morrisville Water and Light here to have conversation around that topic.
I think we need to continue this meeting. They have chosen not to show up tonight for whatever reason.
right?
I don't think we can require them to be here.
Well,
You know,
we can inquire of them as
but-
to what are the technical requirements.
Obviously, the-
questions?
I don't know what the,
Ask if you feel it's something you need to make your decision, you can make.
okay,
Otherwise, I don't think there's aware.
but we haven't deliberated and made that decision, so.
To answer your question, Don, my next Monday night and Tuesday night would be fun.
Like 25th or 26th?
Yes.
I could do the 25th or the 26th.
Me too.
I can do the 25th.
Richard?
I don't know. Sure.
Richard?
I'm unsure right now, but
I'm going to suggest we continue this meeting to August 25th at, would we like to do 5:30?
Do we need our attorney?
David Root, next, I see a hand in the audience, but I'm just going to finish my question. David, next Monday, can we change the time?
Yeah, that's fine.
Jordan is on vacation,
I'm not in Monday of next week. I'm in Tuesday of next week.
but Monday would work for you?
No.
Tuesday.
No, I'm not in on Monday.
Tuesday would
I'm in on
work.
Tuesday of next week.
Oh, I see. So Tuesday next week. You have a planning commission meeting on Monday?
Tuesday, 26th.
So the 25th won't work, 26th won't, will the 27th work?
Can we do the 26th before the planning commission? What time's planning?
It's at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
How about the 27th?
So 26th.
There's no DRB meeting on Wednesday.
Can anybody not do the 27th?
I prefer not to, but I also understand that LeBlancs have been waiting for a long time to get this resolved.
Yeah.
I'll adjust for the 27th.
27th works for the applicants?
27th, that's not-
Yes, David.
David can't.
It doesn't work for me.
How about the 28th?
28th I can now.
Did we talk
Come on.
about potentially for tomorrow?
Do we have a quorum though?
You mean the 19th?
The 19th, sorry, yes.
I can make tomorrow work, yeah, I can make it work.
Tyler's out of town.
I'm dressed, so my role in here is basically helping them draft the decision, more or less, because I'm used to writing kind of quasi-judicial decisions.
Can you
So I don't
refer to the
necessarily need to
recording?
be here for the hearing, but the issue is like if I'm drafting something that has conditions on it, usually like findings of fact, if nothing else, I would need notes, and typically you don't make notes in
Can
a
you
deliberative
watch,
session.
when the recording is sufficient?
Because there's no video of that, it's a deliberative session. That's the issue.
All right.
I hate to sound it, but like we are now trying to push back.
We're into
almost
September.
September, which is not ideal for you guys,
It's a
right?
really short building season here.
Yeah, I get it, Melissa, I know, I just don't know how we're scheduling here. I mean, everybody's trying, but it's a lot of people to line up.
So we have nothing this week. Thursday, Conservation Commission's in here. They're in here at 5 o'clock.
How long does that normally go?
How long does that go? I know,
6:30.
Hour and a half, but I could push it back.
Well, except
Could we
we've
not-
already warned a
Yeah,
special speaker.
right, you have a speaker coming in, don't you, Nancy?
Can we get it for 4 like we did today? I'm not.
But we'd have to be done at 5.
And I don't know if Richard, can you make 4?
four's tough for me.
Jordan's not here. You people with lives and jobs.
I guess the third, September 3rd, is that? Push it out.
Is anybody noticing?
Third.
What was wrong with Monday night, the 25th? Oh, Jordan couldn't be here.
What John's on vacation.
Somebody was not.
26th, there's a planning
I
meeting.
mean, so
Tyler is
a
not
week,
here.
a week from today, is there, if we waived our right to have questions asked of Jordan, is that, I mean, this, if our feeling is that we'd like to go ahead on the 25th even without him here, or we could, is that a problem?
Jordan wouldn't be here to ask his questions either.
Yeah, I would feel uncomfortable without both sides being
No, that's
fully
fair.
represented.
No, that's fair, I just didn't know if it was.
It's a fair question, Bryce, but
Yeah.
I think we need
No, I hear
both parties at quote full strength, and I don't mean it quite the way it comes out, but
Unless somebody can find something else, I think we're looking at the 3rd.
you. All right,
3rd of
September
September.
3rd?
Sorry.
yeah.
at what time?
I can do any time on the 3rd. I mean, 5:30 is reasonable.
Yeah, Richard, I think is the.
That's 5
Did
later.
David have any, David, did you have time restrictions? You're gonna be.
So the 3rd, 5:30 works?
9/3 at 5:30.
All right.
Okay, do I need a motion to continue this?
Yes.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until 5:30 on September 3rd.
I'll move to continue the public hearing on 9/3 at 5:30.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
Second. David, does that motion sound sufficient? Okay, thank you. Applicants, okay with that? Town? Okay with that?
Can we make sure if we get anything from Morrisville Power and Light that it gets sent out to everybody so we have all the information so this doesn't happen again?
Well, if we get to, I'm gonna inquire them as well, so if we get
Okay.
any information from them, we'll share it with you
Yeah,
as well.
more information we all have will expedite this.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I, any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
We're not quite done yet, audience, just hold on. And I'll take, I do not adjourn, correct? Do I adjourn?
We'll continue.
So I don't adjourn. I think we are all set. Are we all set, David? Okay, great. Now, there's a number of people in the audience that are here for the regular select board meeting. I, for one, just barely finished this one. I'm just going to ask for a few minutes. We're going to start a couple of minutes late. And there's one member of the audience, we're going to get them.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you in a second.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your.
Thank you.